Hi there, great and glorious, soon to be famous one day Nick Dutch, back on camera, and here's my pussy. Okay, someone has shown an interest in the subject of dreams, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to ramble for a little while on the subject of dreams, and then hopefully we can try and get a bit of clarity as to, what's happening within your dream world, and maybe that can do you some good, maybe it won't do you some good. Maybe you'll turn around and say, Nick, you're talking complete and utter rubbish, but, you're free to say that. All I can do is talk about my impression and understanding of a tiny aspect of the whole dream thing. People go on about, can you interpret dreams? Well, yeah, you can. If you can get some kind of handle on basically what's been happening in a person's life or in a person's day, and then you have a look at their dreams, you can start to see some correlations there. However, it's very easy for an individual to misinterpret a situation, and as a result of that, to misinterpret what the dream could actually possibly mean, because everyone's got their own mind. They will, look at a particular subject, such as a dream or a tarot card or an astrological symbol, and put their own character into it. And that can cause basically a few problems when someone wants to have the finite truth, because when you're talking about interpretation, funnily enough, it's up to interpretation. Can the future be told through dreams? Again, very difficult. I've already spoken to you about instances when I've had dream visions that were highly prophetic and really rather scary or intriguing. So, I would say by my experience that under some strange circumstances which I do not fully understand, there does seem to be some kind of consciousness overlap, shall we say, between the future and the present, or between the present and the past. And sometimes the mind seems to be able to find out something that would otherwise be difficult to reach or get a hold of somehow. And so, yes, I would say that there is some variety of prophetic component to dreams. Precisely what that is and how that operates, I cannot say, and I have to say quite clearly and quite categorically, I do not know. Is it completely under control for me, the great and glorious Nick Dutch? Basically, no. But I experience, I experiment, and it is an experiential, experimental, personal art form which I am doing, and so therefore I'm just seeing how it goes, basically. Now, how could you personally find out more about what is going on in your dreams, and whether there's any importance or significance? Well, the moment you wake up, or the moment you get out of bed, not the moment you've had your cup of coffee, right? But literally the moment when you're still bleary-eyed, you take a pen and paper and you write down what you remember of your dreams. You force yourself to remember very, very, very first thing you open your eyes. Or you have like a WAV recorder or like the sound recorder on your mobile phone, and you just ramble into it, just mention everything that was in your dreams. And then later on during the day, maybe you then take notes on what your recording contained. And you do this over a long period of time. This is not something that's achieved over like a weekend or a week, or indeed a month, or indeed 6 months. This is a long process, and my recommendation would be to do it over many, many years. And yes, that means you've got to be pretty damned obsessed in order to do the dream diary experiment, or experience, depending upon how you look at it. But it is a recommended methodology if you want to try and understand more about what's happening in your dreams. And you've got to be as accurate and as reliable as possible. Not jump to too many conclusions, because when you're taking notes, you're literally just taking notes. Just like a scientist, if he was boiling stuff in like test tubes, standard like mad scientist situation with thousands of test tubes of different colours all giving off like carbon dioxide type clouds. What the scientist would do is he would take notes of the various reactions and the apparent results, and then afterwards would test the products of the reaction. And that's what you have to do with your dreams. You've got to be that objective and say, well, I dreamt that there were two dogs fighting, and one of them was brown, one of them was black and white, and it was in a grassy meadow and there was a stream beside it. And you try and describe it as best as you can. You don't say, I had a dream about a dog which looked like next door's dog. Alright, because if you do that, you're adding extra meanings in there, which means that you'll be getting the potential to interpret the whole dream experience just that little bit more confused. I mean, maybe like 6 months or a year down the line, you will have the same scene, you know, the same dogs with the same coloured patterns on them, the same meadow, and you'll actually see it because you'll be there. And when that happens, it can be a little odd, shall we say. Just a little odd, a pause for thought, so to speak. Something that makes you think, rather than something that makes you think, I'm sure I understand precisely how dreams work in every possible way because I am amazing, yes. Because if you're that overly enthusiastic, then basically you're not going to have any objectivity to the experience itself. You've got to try and be that mythical scientist in the laboratory, just taking notes of all the various reactions that are occurring prior to jumping to any conclusions. The time to create fresh hypotheses is later. But if you're going to create a fresh hypothesis, the hypothesis isn't facts. The hypothesis is something to test later on to see whether there could be some validity to it. But even then, you can test to see if there's some validity to it. You're not proving conclusively that the hypothesis is correct. And even if you were to prove the hypothesis was correct, you would then have to experiment even further to work out under what circumstances that hypothesis was correct, rather than like the other circumstances when it isn't. And that will require some failure. Failure is always an option. I like that phrase. I tend to use it rather a lot. Be on camera. All the girls like a bit of pussy. Then, of course, there's getting a bit more creative with what you do in dreams, and at that point you can touch a number of different varieties of visualization and sensory stuff and sensory awareness stuff. Okay, because as far as visualization is concerned, you can visualize your body clear, nice and clear, going on a journey, and then that can become the body of the dream. You can visualize yourself going on an astral projection, and that can become the body of an experience, and you might just find something strange or interesting happening once in a while. Hi there, great and glorious, soon to be famous one day, Nick. Come on. That's like one variety. There's also like your center of attention. You may have the capacity to affect the internal organs through building up the skill of concentration and connecting that concentration to parts of the body. Hi there, great and glorious, soon to be... I mean, when I was a teenager and I was experimenting with meditation for myself, I drank an infusion of hops. But don't do that. I just chose to do that for myself. And I did meditation whilst lying on my bed. And I used visualization and breathing to make one of my legs go slightly pinker than the other one. And I made the other one go pretty white. And I was actually successful at doing that during that one time. I have struggled to be able to create that variety of experience again, but the fact of the matter is that one time demonstrated me that one can have an influence upon one's body as a result of concentration. If you struggle to get off to sleep at night, I would recommend going into meditation and concentrating on your feet and breathing basically energy and light into your feet, because that increases your awareness of your feet, increases the circulation in your extremities, including your feet and your hands, and that makes the whole body feel more comfortable, as well as it being a meditation experience, which enables you to slow down the brain waves and basically get off to sleep slightly easier. Occasionally. Okay. It's again not concrete and reliable, but if you've got a hard case of insomnia, then what else would you be doing with your time apart from being naughty with yourself? Okay? Come on, be sporting, come on. Then there's of course the dream telepathy type stuff. That's where things get nice and weird. I like it. It's good fun, and yes, it happens once in a while. That's when you're focusing your attention upon an individual when you're going through the process of trying to get to sleep, and of course you can then quiz them the next day to see if they dreamt of anything interesting and see what happens. But this stuff takes a bit of practice. You've got to know what it feels like to be in a meditative state so you can enter into it again. You've got to know how to relax. You've got to be able to visualize reasonably well. You've got to have a certain quantity of faith in what you're doing when you're doing it, and being critical about the experience after you've done it. all these things help, and a lot of it is very difficult to describe because there's some very subtle changes of perception which you can deploy when doing all this strange, weird dream experimentation stuff. But those 8 hours of every 24 that you spend in bed can be quite interesting if you put your mind to good use. And at that, I will bid you good fortune, God and all goddess, and all none of the above bless, great and glorious, and be famous one day, Nick Dutch, signing out for now.